In a sprawling mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, a billionaire tech mogul named Edward Langston sat across a chessboard from a 12-year-old girl named Amara Johnson, the daughter of his longtime housekeeper. Edward, a man who'd built a fortune in Silicon Valley, thought he was offering a kind gesture to a shy kid who'd tagged along with her mother to work. He had no clue that Amara, with her quiet demeanor and secondhand sneakers, was a chess prodigy who'd been outsmarting opponents online for years. What started as a casual game would soon turn into a revelation that shook Edward's world and set Amara on a path to global recognition. Amara's mother, Denise Johnson, had worked for Edward for nearly a decade, cleaning his 12,000-square-foot estate with meticulous care. Denise was a single mother, raising Amara in a modest apartment in Bridgeport, a far cry from the wealth of Greenwich. Amara was a bright spot in her mother's life, a straight-A student who spent her evenings hunched over a battered laptop, playing chess on free online platforms. Denise didn't fully understand the game, but she knew Amara was good, really good. She'd overheard her daughter muttering terms like Sicilian defense and en passant while clicking through games late at night. Edward, 52 and recently divorced, had a passion for chess that bordered on obsession. He wasn't a grandmaster, but he'd held his own against some of the best players in private tournaments. His office, lined with mahogany bookshelves, housed a custom chess set carved from ebony and ivory, a gift from a business partner. On that Saturday morning in July, Denise had to bring Amara to work because her usual babysitter was unavailable. Amara sat quietly in the kitchen, her nose buried in a library book about chess openings, while Denise vacuumed the upstairs rooms. Edward noticed Amara when he passed through the kitchen to grab a coffee. He'd seen her a few times before, always polite and reserved, but something about the book caught his eye. "You play chess?" he asked, more out of curiosity than expectation. Amara looked up, her braids falling over her shoulders. "Yeah," she said softly. "A little." Edward smiled, intrigued. He wasn't used to kids showing interest in chess, especially not the daughter of his housekeeper. "Want to play a game?" he asked, gesturing toward his office. Amara hesitated, glancing at the kitchen door where her mother was working. "It's okay," Edward said. "Your mom won't mind. Just one game." Amara nodded and followed him to the office, clutching her book. Edward set up the chessboard, offering her white to give her the first move. He figured it would be a quick game, a chance to humor the kid before getting back to his emails. Amara sat across from him, her small hand steady as she moved her pawn to e4. Edward responded with e5, expecting a standard opening. But Amara's next move, a knight to f3, came with a confidence that made him pause. He countered, and the game unfolded. Within 10 moves, Edward realized this wasn't a casual match. Amara's moves were precise, calculated, and aggressive. She didn't fidget or hesitate. Her eyes stayed locked on the board, scanning it like a battlefield. By move 15, Edward was sweating. Amara had trapped his bishop, forcing him to sacrifice a knight to stay in the game. He leaned forward, studying the board, while Amara sat calmly, her expression unreadable. "Where'd you learn to play like this?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. "Online," Amara said, "and books. My school has a chess club, but I don't go much." Edward nodded, but his mind was racing. He'd played against professionals, and this 12-year-old was holding her own. By move 25, she'd cornered his king, setting up a checkmate he couldn't escape. "Check," she said quietly, moving her queen. Edward stared at the board, then at her. "Mate," he said, tipping his king. "You're good, Amara, really good." Amara shrugged, but a small smile tugged at her lips. "Thanks." Denise, who'd finished cleaning and come looking for her daughter, stood in the doorway, surprised to see them at the chessboard. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Edward laughed, still reeling from the loss. "More than okay. Your daughter just beat me at chess." Denise blinked, then smiled. "She's always on that computer, playing those games. I don't know much about it, but she loves it." Edward looked at Amara, who was resetting the board. "Mind if we play another?" he asked. Amara nodded, and they started a second game. This time, Edward focused, treating her like a real opponent. But Amara was relentless, countering his strategies with moves he hadn't seen coming. She won again, this time in under 20 moves. After the second game, Edward leaned back in his chair. "Amara, have you ever played in a tournament?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, they cost money, and you need to travel. We don't have that." Denise shifted uncomfortably, but Edward waved off her concern. "I'm not trying to pry," he said, "but Amara's got talent. Serious talent. I'd like to help." Edward wasn't one for impulsive decisions, but something about Amara's skill struck a chord. He'd spent years mentoring young tech entrepreneurs, but this was different. Chess was a sanctuary, and he saw something in Amara, a spark he couldn't ignore. He offered to sponsor her entry into a regional chess tournament in New York City, covering the fees and travel costs. Denise was hesitant, unsure about accepting such a big gesture, but Amara's quiet excitement convinced her. The tournament was a month away, giving Amara time to prepare. Edward lent her a stack of advanced chess books from his collection and set her up with a premium account on a chess platform where she could practice against top players. Amara dove in, spending every spare moment studying and playing. Denise watched her daughter's focus intensify, proud but worried about the pressure. When the tournament day arrived, Edward drove Amara and Denise to the venue, a convention center buzzing with players of all ages. Amara, in a simple blue dress Denise had bought for the occasion, looked small among the competitors, many of whom were seasoned players with coaches and expensive equipment. Edward registered her as an unrated player, since she'd never competed formally. Amara's first match was against a 16-year-old boy who'd won regionals the previous year. He underestimated her, moving quickly and carelessly. Amara stayed calm, exploiting his mistakes and winning in 22 moves. The next round were tougher, but she kept winning, her reputation growing with each match. By the final day, she was in the top bracket, facing a 19-year-old college student ranked among the state's best. Edward and Denise watched from the sidelines, barely speaking. The match was intense, lasting over an hour. Amara's opponent played defensively, but she chipped away at his position, forcing errors until she delivered a checkmate that drew gasps from the crowd. The room erupted in applause, and Amara, still composed, shook her opponent's hand. She won the tournament, earning a $5,000 prize and an invitation to a national championship. The victory made local news, with headlines calling her a Bridgeport prodigy. Edward, beaming like a proud parent, arranged for a chess coach to work with Amara, someone who'd trained grandmasters. He also set up a small trust fund for her education, ensuring she'd have options beyond chess. Amara's success didn't stop there. She competed in the national championship, placing in the top 10 and earning a spot in an international youth tournament. Her story spread, inspiring articles, and even a documentary short. Denise, who worked tirelessly to give Amara a stable life, was overwhelmed with pride but insisted on keeping things grounded. "She still got homework to do," she'd say, half joking. Edward remained a quiet supporter, never taking credit for Amara's rise. He and Amara still played chess when she visited the mansion with Denise, though he rarely won. Their games became a ritual, a way to connect across the vast divide of their worlds. Amara, now 13, started mentoring younger kids at her school's chess club, passing on what she'd learned. Her story resonated beyond chess. It challenged assumptions about who could excel in a game often seen as elite, and it highlighted the untapped potential in communities like Bridgeport. Amara didn't see herself as a symbol. She just loved the game. But to those who knew her story, she was proof that genius could come from anywhere. Even a quiet girl in secondhand sneakers who'd once sat unnoticed in a billionaire's kitchen.